Hi everyone. The other day, as I went for a very wet and blustery walk along the banks of the River Medway, I was looking out at Hoo Island, and I thought, you know what, I really want to go back and visit there before the end of the summer. Some of you may have seen the videos I made back in April about our trip there and the name tags of 2 World War I servicemen that I discovered there. This time I wanted to go further inland to visit the fort and see where these men might have spent a significant amount of time. So there was no choice but to get the canoe back out again. It's very early on Sunday, the 19th of August, and we are going to take a little trip out to Hoo Island again. It's a nice high tide, and so we're going to go out there. This boat this time because the other one sprung a leak. So let's see what adventures we're going to have today. And here the day is rising on us. Day of adventures, and what will we find? Let's go and see. First find today is this, which I do not know what it is, but I know a man who does.
It's a 20mm Oerlikon cartridge, anti-aircraft gun.
Oerlikon?
Yeah, it's spelt funny. O-E-R-L-I-C. No, there's no C in it. Oerlikon it's called. It's spelt funny, it's too early for me to remember.
Anti-aircraft?
Cartridge, yeah, it's an anti-aircraft gun. It fired 20mm shells at the Luftwaffe, presumably when they were going to come and bomb the dockyard, but...
Oh, interesting. Okay. Will that clean up?
Yeah, sure I can do a job with that.
Great, thank you. Hoo Fort was one of 2 circular island forts built in the Medway in the 1860s to defend the river approaches to Chatham Dockyard. You can see its twin fort, Darnet, just on the opposite side of the channel. In 1871, Hoo Fort was armed with 11 9-inch rifle muzzled loading guns, and each gun was mounted in an individual casemate on the visible upper tier. Accommodation and magazine, shell and cartridge stores were on the lower tier. The forts were disarmed and abandoned before the First World War and were looked after by the Royal Artillery Care and Maintenance Unit, who eventually left in the 1950s. During World War II, it was used as an observation post. It's just so much like two eyes looking at you and beckoning you to come and visit. Now, last time I was on Hoo Island, we didn't get the opportunity to go and explore the fort because it was completely flooded down below. But this time, the water level has dropped, and so we are going to go and do a little excursion there and have a little explore. Here we are in the fort. Oh, great. Oh, I feel like the Tomb Raider. Oh, look at that. What an ambience. So this is the inside of Hoo Fort. What would have been down here then? Oh, look at that.
Barracks formation.
Look at that.
Magazines are going to be further on.
It's like pea soup in there.
I've never seen it this empty before. So I've got someone with that.
Right. So the barracks would have been down here then?
Yeah. The guns above.
So living quarters?
Yeah, and magazines will be slightly further out beyond that area there.
It's so silent. If you just keep still a minute, you can almost absorb the history, can't you? Oh, look at that. It's great architecture, isn't it?
Oh, the brickwork is just perfect, isn't it? Okay, so I guess these were the latrines then. Look.
Toilets, right?
Yeah. They probably let all the,
Okay.
It's hollow beneath the so it would be covered up in the toilet, I suppose. Well, it could be a lighting passage. Yes, it's probably a lighting passage.
Where are we going now?
To the magazines. Here we go.
So these are the magazines, and so explain to me.
This is where either powder or shot would be kept. And if you come here to where I am now, you'll notice this is what they call a lighting gallery. Mm-hmm. So behind there's a plate of glass here, and this door would be completely sealed, so that the flame from the candle or oil lamp the other side, those happy days for electricity, wouldn't have a chance to ignite the powder in the magazine. Because
it's a nice bricks. Shine the light up there. There's little vent type bricks there. Wow.
Look at the brickwork as well. They're always lime white, yeah, covered in lime.
I hope you know your way out of here.
It's Pan's Labyrinth. Twisted.
So what's that up there?
That leads to a lighting gallery. Mm-hmm. So presumably they can push the light from somewhere of safety along that lead channel, or whatever it is. That even catches, it's to catch the fumes from the lamps. Never seen that intact before in the fort. And there's still some of the glass there, look.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay.
So that would catch the fumes from the lights, the candle or the oil lamp, probably an oil lamp.
So as we're walking along here through this lighting gallery, tell me a little bit about this fort. I know that whilst it was a fort, it didn't actually see any enemy action, did
Not
it?
at all. It was here to protect the dockyard with its sister fort, an almost identical twin over there called Fort Darnet, which we've also been to. And they're a circular fort of a quite unique design, and they had all sorts of trouble keeping them drained and dry, even in the best of conditions when it first laid.
So what used to go on in this bit then? This interior circle?
These are the offices and the toilets and things like that. The officers' quarters maybe, and the offices. And now we're going up to what was the gun platform, if you will.
We're going up to the gun platform.
This is the only part of the fort that would have been visible from the river. And it's protected by feet, and I'm not joking, feet of granite and cement and brickwork to make it virtually impregnable. And then you've got the iron shields,
Okay.
which the guns hid behind.
So let's go on up and see what's going on up here. Seems funny to think that there were hundreds. Well, how many men would there have been stationed?
120, I believe I've read.
120.
At its height, but these are the gun decks. These would have an enormous gun on it. I'm not joking. Right, let me show you. Right, the muzzle, i.e., the front of the gun, would be about here. When it was being loaded, and it would stretch all the way back to, there should be another trunnion about here. The guns were absolutely 7 or 9 inch rifle muzzle loading guns. That is to say, the shell had to be put in from the front like an old musket.
And then it would have poked out of this window.
Yeah. Aperture.
Oh, aperture.
Yes.
Sorry.
You look at the thickness, that is 12 inches of iron.
Gosh.
I mean, this one might not even had a gun in it because it's facing inland, but the ones to protect the dockyard, they'd have these ones definitely armed. Yeah,
There's something rather beautiful about the archways. It's very almost church-like,
Yeah.
like a cathedral
It's
type.
Victorian, isn't it? It's so Victorian. I mean, in the strength in the arches is intrinsic. By making arches and curves, you give great
It
strength.
really is. It sort of reminds me of a bit of a
Artisan brickwork as well. Look at the way they've chipped the corners away with these bricks here to make that smooth finish.
Amazing.
Yeah, and this is like granite.
And now it's a real wildlife haven. In fact, I remember one time being here collecting owl pellets to dissect, which I also like doing. So if you see any owl pellets, please let me know.
We've just been down
Oh, so there's a bit of a hole there. So where's that going?
That goes down to living quarters. It looks like it's drainage
Ooh,
or ventilation or something.
There it goes, right down there. Very overgrown. It's like a real wildlife haven now. Full of blackberries, butterflies, birds' nests.
These shields are different to the other shields because these were the sea-facing ones which are likely to face attack. So these had teak. So you've got 12 inches of steel plate or iron plate. What's about 8 inches of teak and another good 10, 12 inches of steel. I mean, that's impregnable, isn't it? Can you imagine that?
Wow.
And that's facing out the way that the potential invaders would have come.
Something quite attractive about these, all the rust colours and something, isn't it? So I've just found some little owl pellets here on the floor. I know it's pretty grim, but they're so interesting. And you can see in this one that there is a tiny little jawbone, probably from a very unfortunate mouse. There it is, 2 front teeth. So these owl pellets would have been excreted via the mouth, I think, I hope. And they're full of interesting bits and pieces if you can be bothered to take them apart. So we've got many, many little mice bones in there. So they are quite fascinating. Two more here. They look like animal droppings, but they are in fact very, very dry and very, very light and mostly full of feathers, fluff and bones. There you go.
So that's the frame for the wooden partition that would be between each of the gun casemates.
Okay.
They're all partitioned off and not open to the elements like we see now. But they can be all that stuff will be taken down.
So this wood is the original wood then that would have had the sort of a separation.
Yes.
Interesting.
But they'll all be taken down in battle or when they're doing drills because the glass had a tendency to shatter every time to fight the guns.
Well, it really has returned to nature here, hasn't it? All sorts of feathers and droppings and nests and all sorts of things.
Those 3 rings in the ceiling, how colossal they are.
What, these metal ones?
Yes, the iron rings.
Uh-huh.
That's how they handled the guns, or to handle the recoil of the guns and installed the guns with those. So it gives you an idea just how colossal those guns were.
Wow. Look at that. Here's another owl pellet, and look, sure enough, a little pair of fangs sticking out of it. So, another very unfortunate mouse into the stomach of the owl, and then out come the skull and the teeth and the jaw and the bones, all in a nice little package. Okay, I'm going to collect a few owl pellets because I'm going to do a little dissection later. So those of you that might be a little horrified at that, I'll warn you before I do it. But it's just so interesting. Or maybe it's just me. Collect them up, take them back, and yeah. When they come out of the mouth or the beak of the bird, all the things that aren't digestible, the bones, the feathers, the fluff.
conditions. It's like a rainforest sort of plant. It's like a rainforest.
It does. It reminds me of, do you know, the Jungle Book?
Yeah.
With that orangutan singing.
Oh,
I am the king of the jungle, the jungle VIP.
I'm the king of the swingers.
Oh yeah,
king of the swingers. I've reached the top, but now I've stopped, and that's what's bothering me. I want to be a man cub, make a deal with you. What I desire is man's red fire to make my dream come true.
Oop-be-doo, I want to be like you, talk like you. Nice echo. I want to be like you.
Actually, the reason why they've probably got raised floors is the flooding, because this place was plagued with floods, even, as you can see. So maybe that's why they had a false floor.
Well, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating, and can just imagine the everyday life going on here. It must have been quite boring over here, really, for the men that were stationed here.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where are you going now, Ben?
To the other side of the magazines, there was a hole that had fallen through, and I've seen it a few times, so I didn't know whether it was a natural collapse or whether it's been... Looking, and I'm going to find out this way.
And this looks like it was the, maybe some beds, some bunk beds by the looks of it. All in bits now.
Bars and windows, must be the brig or the armoury.
Okay. So now we're heading back out. What's in this little room here, I wonder?
Takes you, shall we explore? It's a pigeon loft. They make you jump.
Oh my
that one
goodness.
in the other place made me jump. I can never see that talk button there. Oh! Okay. So this is the drawbridge room. Okay? There used to be a drawbridge out there, and these are the counterweights for it to lift and raise it.
Okay.
And there, these are gun loops here, and the pigeon has with 2 eggs on it.
Look! It's a
One.
pigeon's nest.
One there.
Oh, we won't stay here too long or else the pigeon will be scared to come
So
back.
there you go. This is the machinery room for the counterweights for the drawbridge.
Well, I expect these are the original wooden doors, aren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah. Right, so out we go, back into daylight. Try not to plunge down into the depths here.
Let's open up a bit more.
Voila, here we go. As I left the island, I wondered if L.J. Cashen was one of the men who lived in the barracks and if he'd been in any of the same rooms we'd visited. And I couldn't help thinking that despite the strategic design and heavy reinforcements there to protect Hoo Fort from infiltration, damage and destruction, none of this can prevent it now from being gradually taken over by nature.